Hey everyone, I'm Matt. Welcome to the Utah BDR. I'm here at Golding's Resort on the Utah-Arizona border. In the last video, I covered my road trip from my place on the Northwest Oregon coast here. And in this video, I'm going to be riding the Utah BDR with my son Luke. He should be here in a couple of hours, and then we'll be kicking off segment 1 of the Utah BDR. The setting here is pretty amazing. Tent site wasn't too bad. You got running water at the tent, hot showers and laundry, which is nice when I'm on the 4th day of a motorcycle trip. So anyway, got a good night's sleep, feel nice and refreshed. I've got a couple hours to finish packing up the bike before my son gets here. I can go grab a bite to eat. Then we'll be off on the Utah BDR. Now, day 1 starts at the Utah-Arizona border in Monument Valley and ends at the town of Blanding. Now, if you're looking at this and you're looking for advice on the Utah BDR ride, I'm going to tell you that the stretch of road on Butler Wash was the absolute worst stretch of road that we rode on the entire trip. It was sandy, full of deep silt pockets, and there really wasn't anything special to see. It was rough riding, and we actually didn't make it all the way to Blanding because the ride was so rough. So if you're looking for my advice, avoid this stretch of road if you're riding bikes. Alright, we've got Forrest Gump Hill here. A little bit of a tourist trap, but famous scene from the movie, the I'm kinda tired, I think I'll go home now. Alright, off pavement, hitting the Valley of the Gods. Hopefully they don't kick us out for being mere mortals.
miles an hour.
Pretty spectacular views, huh?
Yeah.
This is where I stopped the other day before I went down this. We came in on that dirt road right there. There's that bed and breakfast that we rode by right there. Yeah, but we came, so like this road is the one that I went on yesterday to get to Goldings. Okay. And so we we rode over there.
Yeah, that was pretty awesome. That was a really cool ride.
So, yep. We're probably already a third of the way to Blanding by now. And we've got, I think, I don't know, but it's like 10 or 15 more miles of fast pavement up here. This road's kind of fun. The pavement's really good, and it's like up and down and twisty and everything else, so. Well, it's definitely hot out there. Outside air temperature is 102 degrees. But it's not too bad. The wind's blowing. As long as we keep moving a little bit, the airflow doesn't make the heat too bad, so. This road really hasn't been too bad. Some rocky spots. Definitely a few patches of pretty deep, soft sand, but overall pretty easy riding.
When it rains, can you feel the sun in my song? Did I change? Have I been this way all along? Say you love me now. A familiar face in the crowd. Don't be afraid, or maybe be afraid. I couldn't see the waves coming anyway. Don't walk away, or maybe walk away. Gotta find the space, don't know what to say, but it's all okay, we'll die another day. It's alright, I could never sleep anyway, so I fly from the chandeliers to feel safe. There's no time to believe what I hear inside. Say you
this little tiny mirror. I was like, whoa, that was a deep hole, because I dropped my feet down when I went through there, and I looked and I'm like, oh, there's his headlight. Did he go through it? And I saw the headlight go over and just sand go up. I was like, well, I guess not. Oh, you all right?
Yeah.
You didn't tweak anything, did you?
No.
Okay. I mean on you. Or the bike, I guess. Well, I didn't have the camera rolling, but I managed to lay it down now. Just went through a deep silty spot and got my front tire in a rut on one side and my rear tire in a different rut. Down she went. Bike's good though, and so am I, so no complaints. Well, this road is turning out to be quite a challenge. They ran a grader and a disc over it just recently. We met a guy that rides out here often, and he said that just like in the last few weeks. God, the whole road is just like deep silt. I think we're both getting a little bit tired. Luke said the next time he lays his bike over, it might be the last one, and we're camping out here, so crossed fingers that they stopped taking care of the road. I don't want to complain too much. This would actually be a great road if we were on four wheels, but or even a lighter bike. The problem is you're riding along and the ground's okay, and then you come around a corner and it's like a foot deep pocket of silt, and kind of hard to see it coming. When you drop into it, it just takes all you have to keep the bike up. I can see up there, so we got a pretty deep silty patch coming. These are pretty heavy bikes, so they're really not ideal for this, but I seem to be struggling a little bit less than Luke. Hopefully he keeps it upright. Doing all right? Because you're driving like twice as many miles as I am.
Dude, I'm trying to keep it straight.
I know, Luke. Part of the problem is you can't tell where the silt is deep and where it's shallow.
Over here. I feel like it.
We should stop, at least for a while. Let me, I'll tell you what, let me ride over there because there's this road right here. Or let me walk over there. Let me see if I can find some shade or something.
Okay.
Good.
Stand my bike up real quick.
Yeah.
Day 2's route covered ground between Blanding and Moab. It was a pleasant departure from the difficulties we experienced on Day 1. High mountain passes, significantly cooler temperatures, and better road conditions meant that we were able to put some extra miles behind us during the day.
Well, good morning, everyone. It's the start of Day 2 on the Utah BDR. I didn't film an outro last night. We rode until almost dark and did not make it out of this road right here. Butler Wash Road is what this one's called. I don't think it can be overstated just how difficult riding in the silt is. It's not sand. You know, when they went through here and they graded this road, they disked it behind it, and it's just powder on the road. I think, you know, on a lighter bike it might be okay. I don't know, but it's not too bad where it's predictable, but every now and then you just drop into these pockets and ruts and stuff that you just can't even see. And it's like riding on grease. I don't know. Everyone that rides knows about silt, I guess. Nothing new, but I think we've got about 8 more miles to go before we hit the pavement. The problem is we're only averaging about 10 miles an hour with brakes and laying the bike over and everything else, and so I don't know, I think we rode about 10 miles in this yesterday, and it was at the end of the day. We were both pretty exhausted, so we just ended up setting up camp just right on the edge of the road here. Finally, a little bit of harder ground. Well, we seem to have made our way finally out of the worst of the silt and onto some more rocky ground here. I don't mind challenges, but man, that was probably 20-25 miles at least of that, you know, 10 mile an hour or less slogging through that deep silt, and I've had enough of that. I don't need to see any more silt this trip. Well, we stopped for breakfast at Yak's Cafe in Blanding. Topped off with fuel and water at the dollar store and the Maverick. And we're on our way to Moab. It should be about 175 miles today. Be heading up into the mountains, so hopefully less sand and silt today. I know we're crossing over at least one mountain pass at above 10,000 feet, so be glad to be headed up into the mountains, hoping for a little bit cooler temperatures. It was well over 100 degrees yesterday, most of the day. That's 40 Celsius for everyone else. But the problem was we weren't really going very fast, and we were working hard picking the bike up. It was just too hot. Hoping that today will be travel more on roads like this, up in the mountains, higher elevations, cooler temperatures. Boy, what a difference an hour of riding and a little bit of a change in latitude and elevation does. Went from scorching heat and red rock canyons and no vegetation to grassy meadows and a pine forest. Very different landscape from just what we saw this morning.
I've been living life right like I could just die any minute. Going for a ride down the side, PCA. inside, feeling alive. Nothing in sight, forever in flight. Follow those lines, we'll make it this time. Blurry street lights, work as a guide to memories that we're making tonight. Oh yeah, we'll make it tonight. Yeah, I'll do anything that I feel like I wanna do. I'm living life like I got nothing left to prove. No end in sight, just always staying on the move. I'll go all night if that's just what I gotta do. Life's too short to care about what you can't afford. Memories are in what you explore, so just don't be ignored. Go ask for more, go ask for more. Cause I've been living life right like I could just die any minute. Going for a ride down the side, PCH, country limit. I don't need a guide, follow lights, take me where I wanna visit. Are you alive? Or just breathing? Cause I've been living life right like I could just die any minute. Going for a ride down the side, PCH, country limit. I don't need a guide, follow lights, take me where I wanna visit. Are you alive? Or just breathing? I'm in a race that everybody's chasing fast. They wanna be that someone on the screen at last. They ain't looking inside for their needs in life. They wanna be liked by everybody in sight. But trust me, being free ain't spotlights. No, it's long nights and it's long fights with yourself all the time to get your mind right. But if you put in the work, you can find the light, alright? I'll do anything that I feel like I wanna do. I'm living life like I got nothing left to prove. No end in sight, just always staying on the move. I'll go all night if that's just what I gotta do. Life's too short to care about what you can't afford. Memories are in what you explore, so just don't be ignored. Go ask for more, go ask for more. Cause I've been living life right like I could just die any minute. Going for a ride down the side, PCH, country limit. I don't need a guide, follow lights, take me where I wanna visit. Are you alive? Or just breathing? Cause I've been living life right like I could just die any minute. Going for a ride down the side, PCH, country limit. I don't need a guide, follow lights, take me where I wanna visit. Are you alive? Or just breathing?
About a third of the way into today's ride. I like these roads quite a bit better than that silty mess that was outside of Blanding yesterday and this morning. But we're you know, we're kind of high up in the mountains here, and the views are just spectacular. It's amazing what 40 miles of driving, how that'll change the landscape. A lot of grass and pine trees and good gravel roads. Now we're about a third of the way to Moab, so making pretty good time today. Let's get back on the road.
This is nice. Nice outside air temperature. It feels cool almost. It's probably still 80 degrees, but relative to the rest of the ride so far. The air is nice and crisp, clean. The views up here in the mountains are just spectacular. Figured this was a good spot for a hydration break. The scenery up here is amazing. Really, it's pretty pleasant. Air temperature is probably 80 degrees, and the sun doesn't feel nearly as unbearable as it did yesterday. Really enjoying the ride today. So we just went through North Creek Pass, 10,312 feet. We're definitely headed back down out of the mountains right now. There's a turnoff up ahead, kind of an optional side quest to go to Monticello, however you say that. That's an optional stop for fuel and food. We don't need either. These V-stroms actually have a pretty impressive range. 6-gallon tank, and let's see, where am I at? 56.4 miles per gallon. So you can, this kind of riding right here, you can pretty much count on a 300-mile range. That actually goes down at freeway speeds. You know, you can get all the way down into the high 30s if you're clocking 80 miles an hour, but out here, more than 50 is pretty much guaranteed. So we don't need to do that side quest. We're gonna stay on the main route here and continue working our way to Moab. Another hour of riding and another landscape change. We've gone down a couple thousand feet in elevation and kind of back into the desert valley again. Few sandy washes on this road, but I'll take those over the silt we were riding in yesterday. There's all these above ground gas lines here. Kind of neat. I haven't really seen anything quite like this before. Obviously this road gets flooded when there's a heavy rain. Tons of sand and rock just deposited all over it. Kind of neat, we're going right alongside this gas line. Luke's doing pretty good back there. Give her the gas. Go for it. Following this old, it's like a decommissioned road or something. It follows along a gas pipeline, and we got up here and there's this old decommissioned mine. There's still a mine shaft over there, and then some like decommissioned rails or something. I'm not really sure, but pretty neat to see this kind of stuff. I see some kind of road over there. I'm not sure if we can get to it or not. We may try and buzz around there and check it out. Got your ore carts there. It looks like that lead cart. It has a bunch of big, I believe they're electric brakes. It was a big like resistive load bank in the back of it. People cut wires, but the The motors themselves are still there. Pretty cool. Hazardous structure, keep off. I guess I believe that. The mine shaft in here's collapsed, but there's like a cold breeze jetting through there. Feels really good in this heat. How's the nature's air conditioning treating you in here, Luke?
Feels good. So are you guys driving this whole route?
Yep. Now I got you convinced to stand in front of this cold breeze. You don't want to move?
Yeah.
It does feel pretty dang good, doesn't it?
It does.
Must be like 40 degrees blowing through there. We stopped in LaSalle at Ease Market for a couple of snacks, some bottles of water, and we're on what seems like it's kind of the last stretch of the day, but it's a high mountain pass stretch. Today's had a lot of changes. We've gone from, silty desert wash to town to rocky high mountain pass, even a little bit of snow, back down into the desert and Red Rock, and here we are back up into the mountains again. And of course, when we get back into Moab, we're going to be right back into the Red Rock. Well, we're coming up to Geyser Pass. 10,538 feet, I think. It is downright pleasant up here. Though I'd imagine with all this grass and water and everything, there's probably a lot of mosquitoes.
After getting a good night's rest in a hotel in Moab, we started out on our way to Green River. Day 3 was a lot like day 2, where we had a good high mountain pass, but the descent out of the mountains proved to be a little bit of a technical challenge, especially for our heavy and kind of low-slung Suzuki V-stroms. We did do some damage to our skid plates. Well, good morning from Moab. We ended up spending last night in a hotel here in Moab just to get a good night's rest, get some laundry done, and this is the start of day 3, Moab to Green River. Already fueled up and refilled all of our water cells and hydration packs. I think today should be similar to yesterday, where we spend a little bit of time down at a little bit lower elevation and then get up into the mountains. We got another 10,000 plus foot pass to go over today. Looking forward to that. It was so nice yesterday to be up high elevation and the cool temperatures. It was like 70, 75 degrees out. Perfect riding temperature. Oh, there's all these signs and stuff saying fee required, and $5 per motorcycle and everything else, but we got to the pay station there and the guy gave us 2 thumbs up and said, looks like you guys are passing straight through on the BDR, no fee required. So must get enough of us motorcycle riders on the BDR here that they just know the deal. So that was pretty awesome. The last time I was here, side-by-sides were not really a thing. Now it's probably 90% of what you see out here. skid plate check big time.
paying so much attention to the riding, I forgot to look at the views. Man, that was a long downhill rocky section. Overall, as far as difficulty goes, probably not really that difficult, but difficult enough when you're on a big heavy bike like this with low ground clearance, loaded with camping gear. I actually think it would have been a lot easier to go up that. I just spent the last hour in the attack position on the bike, kind of wearing me out. Just always looking for the next place to, you know, the next place where I have some balance and traction to shed some momentum. The next thing you know, you drop off another ledge and bang the skid plate and get your balance unsettled. And fortunately, both Luke and I made it down that with no problems. So. Well, we stopped for probably 20 minutes. Found a nice shady spot and a little draw back there with a bunch of, I think, cottonwood trees growing in there, something. And it was, I don't know, wasn't cool. Probably still 85 degrees, but at least it was cooler than the sunlight out here. But we adjusted Luke's shifter for him. He was having problems shifting, so we moved it up a couple of inches. And then I laid the bike over on its side back there a little ways. I got off my line, 100% my fault. I got off my line and hit a big rock with the front tire, kicked the front tire like a foot to the side, and I just went over the side of it. And so my triple clamps were, like my handlebars were off to the right side. So we loosened up the triple clamp, straightened up the handlebars, and tightened it back down. We're all good now. So anyway, it was a nice reprieve from the heat, and we got some stuff fixed, and I think we both drank 2 liters of water each, so good and hydrated as well. And I think we're done with the bulk of the more technical stuff back there. At least looking on the map here, we got some nice straight lines on the roads, so I don't think we're going to be up in the twisty, rocky ledges quite as much. Half of me wants to stop and see if there's a pool to do a little dip into, but the other half of me thinks there probably isn't.
Yeah.
So,
Well, we can look for one on our way down.
yeah, I mean, I guess we're going to be following the canyon for a while, so yeah. I just want my feet to cool off. Weight limit's 21 tons. Not 20 tons or 22 tons, but exactly 21. Under this bridge in some shade here where it's only slightly less than a blast oven. Luke was hearing rubbing or rattling or vibration, and his skid plate was rubbing on the case right here and also on his exhaust after the collector right there. Definitely don't want this rubbing through that because we'll lose all the oil and then we'll be screwed. We both took some really hard hits there, but this bracket is really tweaked here. So we're going to try and straighten it out with the tire irons. This one back here as well. I think I can pry against some good steel, tough spots and straighten that thing back out. To be fair, my aluminum bracket, my homemade one, didn't fare a whole lot better. It's been pushed back and the mounting points have been buckled up a little bit, and a weld is ripped on the other side. So we've really put those things to the test today. Oh, perfect. This is going to work fine. Straight. Of course, it's clear out here now. We just need to find a way to bend that back. Be careful about what I'm prying on here. Yeah, this here. Oh, the engine's hot, burning my fingers. I'm actually amazed at how straight that is now. All right, Luke, no more wheelies in the rocks. Well, we're about what are we, 126 miles into the ride today. It's supposed to be about 160 miles total, so we got about 35 miles left to go. I do have to say, when I was planning this, I was thinking that we should be able to maintain about a 25 mile an hour moving average and maybe a 20 mile an hour overall average. You know, that would have made today I don't know, 8-hour ride. But we left Moab at 9:30 this morning. It's already 6:30 now. I mean, we're only on the third day, but I do have to admit that I've underperformed. I've fallen short of my estimate on every single day. And we have spent a little bit of time, you know, we spent 20 or 30 minutes monkeying around with the skid plates, and we stopped to look at a couple sites along the way. But really, we've been riding pretty much all day. I think these roads are just a little bit slow. You know, when I was planning this, I was thinking, hey, we can set the BDR schedule as kind of a standard, and then if we're feeling good at the end of the day, we can extend it by 10 or 20%, because there is a lot of campgrounds along the way. But now that we're into this, I'm thinking that the BDR schedule is a pretty good one. Neither of us have had much interest in riding any further once we reach the goal at the end of the day. Now, I will say Luke doesn't have a lot of riding experience, and I'm getting old. So, you know, a group of riders that had maybe better bikes and a little more experience and youth on their side, maybe the days wouldn't be quite as long for them. But I think today that those rocky ledges coming down off the mountain, I mean, we spent a couple of hours going, you know, in first gear, just bouncing down over those. It just took time. I'm not complaining. Don't take any of this as complaints. I'm actually having a great time here, and I think Luke is too. I guess if you're watching this and you're thinking the same thing that I was, that, oh, hey, this ride doesn't look that difficult, we can do it in 4 days instead of 7. Yeah, that's not my experience. Could I? You know, I think I could probably plan this out as a 4-day ride, but it wouldn't be. I mean, it's already, you know, my butt's sore and my legs are sore and my feet are sweaty and it's hot, and you know, I'm already physically a little uncomfortable, but I'm having a great time. I think that if I tried to, you know, turn this into a 4-day or even a 5-day ride, it would be less pleasant. And I don't know about for everyone else. When I start to get physically exhausted, my riding suffers. I don't consider myself an expert, but I am an experienced rider. I've been riding since I was 5 years old. I have had, you know, long stretches where, you know, maybe even a year where I didn't ride off-road. So I am by no means the most proficient or skilled rider out there, but I'm also not a novice. Maybe I'll take this time a little bit to talk about the V-strom. This is a great budget adventure motorcycle. Clearly, we are tackling the Utah BDR with it, and we actually did some pretty challenging terrain with it. Now, if you were on a true dual sport, those rocky ledges would have been nothing. You know, it's kind of funny. I looked at it when I was riding down those, and I was thinking, man, I just have the wrong motorcycle for this. Because if I'd have been on a dirt bike, I could have just hogged down that. It actually would have been a lot of fun. But I was having to really pick my lines and be very careful with these big heavy bikes and the low ground clearance and the limited suspension travel. Even something like a, you know, I don't know, a Tenere or some other more off-road oriented adventure bike would have struggled far less than this thing did. But I paid, I think, $3,000 for this motorcycle. Granted, I have maybe another $1,000 into it, but for those of us that are on a budget, this thing's a great option. You know, Luke bought his as a senior in college. He paid, I think, $32.50 for his. It's a little bit older than this one, but it was already equipped with all sorts of stuff. I mean, he didn't have to buy any luggage or anything for it, so has a few more miles on it. But the only things that we did to prepare for this trip are we rebuilt the front forks, did a service on it, so oil change and service the chain and stuff like that, and I put a new rear tire on it for him. Actually, it's kind of a funny story. He got married and we showed up to the wedding a few days early, and I brought the tire with me, and I told him that I was gifting the tire to his wife for their wedding, and Luke can use it, but only with her permission.
Day 4 would take us from Green River to Wellington. The roads today were groomed a little bit better, and there were fewer miles during the day, so it's well worth taking the time to do the out and back drive to see the Wedge, Utah's Grand Canyon.
Well, we're off on day 4. Today's going to be, I believe, just 94 miles, so fewer miles today. Don't really know how fast the roads are going to be, but so it'll be Green River to Wellington, I think. Except I think we're going to ride all the way to Price. We stayed in a cheap hotel last night in Green River. It wasn't originally the plan, but it was a long day yesterday. We were both pretty tired, and it seemed prudent. Given the level of exhaustion, to stay in a hotel, so. Oh, okay. I wasn't looking in my rear view. I was like, crap, did Luke dump the bike already? We're actually not on the BDR. The BDR has us good on I-70 for like 2 miles, and this was on an Onyx route. So I just decided, let's do this instead of getting on I-70. Okay. So it'll meet up here just shortly. Not very far. Literally like 1 mile down this road, so. Well, we knocked out the first 20 miles really quick this morning. That was 50 mile an hour gravel roads the whole way. But now we're into this wash right here, and there's some sandy sections which are a little slow. I would take those if I had a choice. The issue is, it's kind of hard to tell. It transitions from a little bit of gravel, which is fine, and this red sand right here, which is fine too. And then it'll transition to this deep silt, and you really can't see it until you're into it. And it's like 6 or 8 inches deep, and just sucks the power out of the bike, and you can't steer, and yeah, it's kind of slow going. So crossing my fingers that we can maintain at least a 15 mile an hour moving average throughout this section, and hopefully no one lays a bike down. I think the real issue is you just can't quite see it until you're into it. If you're riding along and then all of a sudden you're in this deep silty rut. There was a good one right there. Poor Luke's back there in a cloud of silty dust now. like we got a cattle operation going on here. Try not to disturb what they got going here. Definitely don't want to chase any cows off. I don't know if you, like right before we got out of that slow section and onto the gravel road, like 5 minutes before, I don't know if you went through that same silt pocket that I did going up that hill. I thought I was going to get stuck.
Really?
Like I dropped into it and I was full throttle, first gear pinned, and the RPMs were dying down and I was like going half a mile an hour, and I looked back and there was like, 40 feet of roost in the air, and I was thinking, oh man, I'm just messed it all up for Luke. I don't know, maybe you didn't go through that same pocket.
Yeah, I do remember that, and I remember like I stopped and I watched you going through, and I was like, I'm not gonna go that way.
You went a different route.
Yeah.
So the drive to the Little Grand Canyon overlook in the Wedge recreation area is a bit of an out and back, but it is well worth the drive. The roads are great and it was easy on the bikes, and the view is just stunning. So far today has been the easiest day. I mean, we've already logged close to 60 miles today. It's supposed to only be a 96-mile overall trip, I think. And we're like 2/3 of the way done already. A little bit of silty, sandy roads, but compared to the last couple of days, they were nothing. So, and we just, the bulk of the day has been spent driving on gravel, rock roads like this. Pretty easy riding, really. Can't really see much of that map. Day 5 was another great ride. It started off with a fun section of twisty pavement, followed by a ride in a canyon on a good groomed gravel road, and another high mountain pass. We stretched the day a little bit further than the published route and camped at the Current Creek Reservoir.
Well, good morning everyone. It's the start of day 5, Wellington to Fruitland. We spent the night in a hotel in Price last night. I'd only planned on 2 hotel stops and we've already done 4. But I don't know, it's one of those things. I was looking on Priceline and we got a $150 hotel for $70. Just seemed worth doing one last load of laundry and sleeping in a nice clean room, hot showers and everything. So anyway, yeah, day 5. We're actually going to go a little further than planned as long as we fill up to it. We'll stop in Fruitland for gas and maybe some dinner. And then we're going to go, another 20 or 30 miles to the Current Creek Reservoir and tent camp there tonight. So we're stretching a little bit. We're going to do all of day 5 and a little bit of day 6 today. So should be some high mountain passes. Looking forward to it. I'm not really certain what the rest of the day holds, but we're already 70 miles into our ride for the day. It's only been 2 hours. Really liked that canyon we just rode through. Probably saw 30 off-grid ranches and cabins over a, like a 20-mile ride. Brief stint on pavement and we're back on the gravel again. Now we're up here on this mountain ridge, just under 10,000 feet. I think when we stopped I looked, we were about 9,800 feet, so up here, pretty high elevation. There's all these wildflowers growing along the edge of the road, and the smell is just amazing. So far we're probably 2/3 or maybe even 3/4 of the way through the BDR's planned route to Fruitland. We're a little over halfway to our planned stop. But even with a planned lengthened day, this has been a pretty easy day so far. I think we've been able to maintain, I haven't calculated it out, but probably between 25 and 30 mile an hour moving average here on these roads. So the miles are going by more quickly than they have on previous days. And it's fun. This is, I like the technical riding. I don't mind the sand and loose gravel and stuff like that. The silt, I could leave that. I'm not a big fan of those big silt pockets, but this kind of road here, this is awesome.
After a brief stop for fuel and some dinner in Fruitland, we camped at the Current Creek Reservoir for the evening. Day 6 would be another day spent up at high elevations up in the mountains with cooler temperatures, great views, and easy riding.
Well, we camped last night here at the Current Creek Reservoir. Got in and did a little swimming last night. It was nice to kind of wash the dust and sweat off from the day. The campground was a little pricey at $34 for tent camping, but they do have flush toilets and running water, so that was nice. No showers, but the campsites were nice, and it was probably only 5% occupied, so not very many people here. And we're starting off day 6 about 25 miles into the day 6 ride by camping here, so we've knocked off close to an hour of riding. So the official route today ends in Evanston, Wyoming. We're gonna go at least that far, and I'm planning about 40 miles more, so we're looking at camping in the Monte Cristo Mountains somewhere. There's a couple campgrounds up there. I think once we get some cell service, I'll do just a little bit of research, probably in Evanston, and decide what we're going to aim for at that point. Day 1 was so rough. We never even made it all the way through day 1. We ended up camping on the side of the trail, and that Butler Wash Road was just so difficult. At least for us on these bikes it was. I think because it had been freshly graded and disked, that's just what made the silt so bad. It was just like 6 inches of silt. It was just a nightmare. It wasn't even worth doing. I wish we'd have bypassed it. But after that first day, it felt like this BDR was going to be an eternity. I think we were both, our spirits were down just a little bit, but day 2 was awesome. And all the days since then have been, there's been some technical riding, but nothing nearly as difficult as that first day was, so. Oh, the outside air temperature is actually a little bit chilly up here. Got, oh, let's see, the bike says 62 degrees. I'm not complaining, it's actually nice to be riding in a little bit cooler weather. But we're up here, you know, I don't know exactly what elevation, but right at 10,000 feet. Kind of riding up and down, above and below the tree line here, and there's still snow on the hillsides. Really pretty. Man, it is just beautiful up here. You know, when you think of Utah, you think of, you know, desert and sagebrush and sand and red rock canyons and stuff like that. You don't really think of anything like this. Like high alpine meadows and things like that. This is pretty neat.
I've been living life right like I could just die any minute. Going for a ride down the side, PCH country limit. I don't need a guide, follow lights, take me where I wanna visit. Are you alive? Or just breathing? Cause I've been living life right like I could just die any minute. Going for a ride down the side, PCH country limit. I don't need a guide, follow lights, take me where I wanna visit. Are you alive? Or just breathing? Flashing red lights, driving at night, windowless ride, feeling alive. Nothing in sight, forever in flight. Follow those lines, we'll make it this time. Blurry street lights, work as a guide to memories that we're making tonight. Oh yeah, we'll make it tonight. Yeah. I'll do anything that I feel like I wanna do. I'm living life like I got nothing left to prove. No end in sight, just always staying on the move. I'll go all night if that's just what I gotta do. Life's too short to care about what you can't afford. Memories are in what you explore, so just don't be ignored. Go ask for more, go ask for more. Cause I've been living life right like I could just die any minute. Going for a ride down the side, PCH country limit. I don't need a guide, follow lights, take me where I wanna visit. Are you alive? Or just breathing? Cause I've been living life right like I could just die any minute. Going for a ride down the side, PCH country limit. I don't need a guide, follow lights, take me where I wanna visit. Are you alive? Or just breathing? I'm in a race that everybody's chasing fast. They wanna be that someone on the screen at last. They ain't looking inside for their needs in life. They wanna be liked by everybody in sight. But trust me, being free ain't spotlights. No, it's long nights and it's long fights with yourself all the time to get your mind right. But if you put in the work, you can find the light, alright. I'll do anything that I feel like I wanna do. I'm living life
That was deep. That was a lot deeper than I expected. Well, I think we're about 15 miles from Evanston, out of the high mountains and down onto the flat ranch land here. Not sure if we've crossed into Wyoming yet or not. I think so. I will say, like, today being up high in the mountains was just amazing. Definitely my favorite part of the day. There were some shorter, like really technical sections, those were fun, but there was some pretty long stretches of riding with just plain rough road. Not difficult enough to be technical, just big freaking rocks everywhere. Luke ended up dropping his bike twice. Just probably not my favorite part of the trip. Nothing terrible, just, I don't know. Just wears on you a little bit when for, you know, hours at a time you're bouncing over washboard and rough road. But fortunately we're all out of that. We're onto some reasonably well-groomed gravel roads. Well, we just got some fuel and a bite to eat in Evanston, Wyoming. And according to the official BDR route, this is the end of day 6. But it's, I don't know, it's 4:45. We're feeling pretty good, so we're planning on continuing. We're going to head up into the Monte Cristos and try and find a place to camp for the night, so. Alright, well, the campground we had planned on staying at, the Monte Cristo campground, is closed. Didn't say it was closed anywhere when I checked online. I guess I didn't check on the National Forest Service website. Maybe they've got it listed as closed there, but so we don't have much choice except to dry camp, some backcountry camping here. And as soon as we turned on this Curtis Creek Road, it says no trespassing or camping on either side of the road for the next, I think it was 5 miles. So we're gonna ride for a little ways and see if we can find a good spot to camp out in the Monte Cristo range here. Well, we're at the Monte Cristo overlook here. Never comes through on the camera, but that's a pretty spectacular view. We were planning on spending the night at the Monte Cristo campground, which is like 4 or 5 miles behind us, but it was closed. Didn't say it was closed anywhere, it was just closed and the gate was locked. So we're just headed down this Curtis Creek Road, and we're just going to keep going until we find a spot to camp tonight. Well, we found a spot that looked decent back there, but as soon as we got off the bikes, within 30 seconds, there was just an angry cloud of mosquitoes buzzing around us. So I don't know that we'll find a spot without mosquitoes, but maybe we'll find a spot with less mosquitoes. I do have bug spray, and we can have a fire out here right now, so I mean, crossed fingers for a better spot.
Well, this was it, our last day of riding on the Utah BDR. We both got a pretty good night's sleep, packed up our camping gear in the morning, and pointed toward Bear Lake for our last day on the trail.
Well, we found a campsite last night, hoping for better than the first spot we found for mosquitoes, but yeah, they're pretty bad. So this is day 7. It's our last day. I headed to Bear Lake today, but we're already like 60 or 70 miles into the drive, so I think we've only got a couple hours till we get to Bear Lake.
And then that'll be it for the Utah BDR. Well, for the first day of this entire trip, I'm wearing my coat. It's not really cold, but it was pretty chilly this morning. I figured I'd leave it on for the first hour or two until I get my blood moving and warmed up, but it was warm enough in the tent and sleeping bag, but in the shade this morning it's pretty chilly. Temperature got down into the 40s last night, so that's not terribly cold on a camping trip, at least for me anyway, but the contrast, you know, the first few days it didn't get below 80 at night, and it was, you know, above 100 all day long, and now here we are, you know, the air temperatures during the day were in the high 70s, and then down into the 40s overnight. Well, we made it.
Yes.
Officially.
Did the whole thing.
And I'm getting spam calls. Let me hang up on that. All right, there we go. All right, Burger Barn, you said?
Yep.
All right. Well, the BDR had definitely taken its toll on both of our bikes. And on Luke's, the pannier brackets, which were kind of janky in the first place and homemade, had definitely taken the brunt of it. Several of the welds were cracked, and we limped into Logan with everything tied up with some paracord. So I took a few hours and helped him weld everything back up and get his bike back in good riding shape. Hope you guys enjoyed following along on this rather lengthy overview of our Utah BDR trip. Stay tuned. I'm going to have a third video come out here that covers the 900-mile ride back to my house in Northwest Oregon. Thanks again for watching, guys.